Snowline Gold more than tripled its value in 2022. What's ahead in 2023? CEO Scott Berdahl will give us an update. Snowline Gold is ticker SGD on the Canadian Securities Exchange and SNWGF on the OTCQB. Scott, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back, Michael. Great to be here.
Scott, first, can you thumbnail Snowline Gold?
Yeah, so Snowline Gold is a new company. We're fresh off our second season in 2022. And we're focused in the Yukon. We're focused on gold, and we're focused on really a new district in the territory where we see the potential for some very big discoveries. And so far in just those 2 seasons, we've put a potential tier 1 gold discovery onto the map, just again from total greenfields to a very exciting stage right now with some really compelling results. And we feel that's just the tip of the iceberg. We have several dozen targets like it, and we're keen to get back out there and keep exploring.
I want to get to the 2022 exploration highlights that you've been publishing, Scott. But first, you say it's a new company, but you're really an old hand with the Yukon.
Yeah, exactly. I've been prospecting in Yukon for my whole life. And before that, my dad was prospecting Yukon as well. And so he dragged my brother and I out into the bush as kids. And yeah, so, we've covered a lot of country in the territory. And Snowline, we carved out 7 projects from our broader portfolio, those that met that criteria for gold, for real scale and potential tier 1 gold assets, and we launched. And so, yeah, we weren't starting from scratch, just sort of decades of hard work for an overnight success sort of a story.
What were the highlights of the 2022 drill program, Scott?
Well, we had some fantastic holes. We had in 2021 we drilled on the edge of a intrusion called the Valley Intrusion, and hit some nice grades. And we stepped out into it in a big way in 2022 with some really aggressive step outs to really get a sense of the scale here. And some of the numbers that came back were better than anything we'd expected, and really better than much of what has been seen globally for this kind of a bulk tonnage reduced intrusion style gold target. Our best hole was 319 meters from surface at 2.5 grams per ton. The top 108 meters of that hole were averaged 4.1 grams per ton, and that was very continuous mineralization. It's not really heavily affected by high grade hits. Applying a pretty aggressive cap at 10 grams per ton only drops that to 2.35 grams per ton. So really almost within rounding error of what it already is. And other holes were similar. We had 410 meters at 1.89 grams per ton, again from surface. And but beyond the numbers, what really has us excited is the scale. And so we, as I mentioned, we took these big step outs and we hit these big grades. And so because of the continuity we're seeing within the holes and between the holes, a picture is taking shape sort of unusually quickly of this system, and the scale potential and the ounce potential of what might be there. So we're really excited with what we've brought to the table. And as I mentioned earlier, this is one of many targets. So we're keen to get back out there and keep exploring.
Now, you're working within what's called the Tintina gold province. Maybe you could explain what it is and why it's significant, Scott.
Sure. So the Tintina Gold Province is a belt that stretches across much of central Alaska and the Yukon Territory. And it hosts some very large gold deposits. There's Fort Knox and Pogo in Alaska. There's Donlin Creek in Alaska. There are other projects like Coffee, Eagle, Brewery Creek in the Yukon. And it's this, it basically happened in the mid-Cretaceous, a 45 million year period where North American continent was basically just running over an island arc. And you see that elsewhere in the world. Looking back into the geological record, some of the best gold camps in the world occur or where this has happened, often long ago. This one was mid-Cretaceous. It made for a very fertile cookbook, basically. And it speaks to the metallurgy of the region, too, that you're just forming these deposits. And so ultimately, there's the old adage that the best place to look for a mine is next to one. I think that applies to a regional scale as well. So you have this province, you have the fertility, you have the ingredients that you need to make big deposits. And that's listening to the, I guess, the reserves, or they're not reserves yet, getting way ahead of myself there, but, the potential of the Tintina Gold Province.
Now, Scott, within your vision statement, you're right. We are committed to working with Indigenous peoples to responsibly develop the Yukon's natural resources. What's the business case for the partnering, Scott?
Yeah, well, I think it opens a lot of doors, and you look to places like, the Golden Trail and the Tahltan First Nation in BC, and you see the collaborations and really the mutually beneficial arrangements that are being set up between the First Nations and the various companies operating in that area. It's a fantastic success story, and I think it really paves the way to opportunities for other companies in other jurisdictions. And in our case, we've had some successful collaborations out of the gate. We have our camp is powered by a 27 kilowatt solar facility that we're actually leasing from the First Nation of Nacho-Naik-Dun. Our main project is, of course, on the traditional there. And so that's been hugely beneficial for us. It cuts our energy costs. It reduces our carbon footprint. It reduces the number of flights into camp. And so that's been fantastic. And then beyond the business case, I think that there's just, I think it's important to build a company that's a key player in a path towards reconciliation. And so I think that industry and First Nations working together is, a very important and vital step in that process.
Who are some significant shareholders in Snowline, Scott?
So the company was really brought to the table by our family, along with Keith Neumeyer, who stepped in and saw the assets that we had and what we were trying to do. And he owns a significant stake in the company. He helped launch the IPO and has participated in every round since. We also have Crescat Capital as a major shareholder. They recognized the story very early on and came in and have really put their money where their mouth is in terms of being very supportive investors in the company and own a large stake as well. And we've had several institutional players step in recently, so that's really good to see. And we're building out our shareholder roster from there.
Now, Scott, I don't need to tell you, there's been some notable M&A in the Canadian gold sector. We got the announcement, I think, just within the last 3 weeks that Newmont is going after Newcrest, which has lots of assets in Western Canada. Beta Gold is picking up Sabina, which has operations in Northern Canada. What's going on?
Yeah, I think there are two different things at play that are kind of dovetailing to accelerate this whole process. And one is just a general underinvestment in exploration in recent decades, in the past 10 years in particular, just with the collapse in the junior markets. But before that, I think the junior markets became very important because the majors themselves sort of dialed back their own exploration arms. Looking back as far back as the 80s and 90s, those really started to gear down. And more of that weight was put onto junior companies. And then with no funding in juniors for the last 10 years, or relatively little, the taps have kind of been shut off in terms of new prospects. So M&A is sort of a natural consequence of all that, where companies need to replenish pipelines. They need to find new assets, and that's an easy way to do it for the time being. And then the other factor that's coming in that is responsible maybe for the flight to Canada or the move to Canada is just what you've been seeing in places like Russia and other jurisdictions, Central America, South America, where a lot of, I guess the importance of political safety and stable jurisdictions has become very evident in recent years. And so there's a flight of capital to these stable jurisdictions. So, we couldn't be happier in that context to be finding something in the Yukon Territory.
Lastly, Scott, noted you've had quite a run at the company. What are the catalysts over the next 12 months?
We've had a run through discovery, and we hope to continue making discoveries. As I mentioned, we're just scratching the surface out there, and we have a lot of targets to test. So we're excited to get back out there and do that. And I think really there are kind of two avenues of catalyst for us. One is, as we build out this valley discovery, just continuing to paint the picture there and demonstrate further the continuity, as well as a key catalyst coming up will be the metallurgy results for the testing that we're doing there. We expect good things based on what we've seen in thin section work and what we've seen in terms of just looking over the fence at similar types of reduced intrusion-related gold systems. But that'll be a key de-risker for the discovery as well. And then stepping back out again, looking at the broader package. Valley may not be the best thing out there. It was certainly a very exciting discovery to make. It could be a company making discovery, but really it's one of dozens of targets that we're keen to get back out onto and hopefully make some additional discoveries just like it.
Scott, thanks for making time for Kitco.
Thank you, Michael. Great to be here.
He's Scott Berdahl. He is CEO of Snowline Gold. My name is Michael McRae, and you're watching Kitco Mining.